What's the dumbest thing you've ever heard someone say? My friend once told me he wasn't too concerned about using birth control because everyone knows the girl can only get pregnant if they both come at the same time. His GF was pregnant 3 months later. I work in vet med. Some clients are shy about talking about their dog's genitals and some don't care and will start yelling about how their cat's butthole is crammed up with poop. The dumbest thing a client has said to me in that regard is that their dog is licking her butt, but like the front part of it. Oh, so her vulva? No, her front butt. Vulva. If you genuinely thought female dogs have two buttholes plausible, my brother thought his dog's vulva was some weird growth, or something else entirely, but it's an inside joke in our clinic now. My sister panicked whilst on a plane and asked if she could open a window as she was feeling really hot. The guy in the seats across from her lost it. It made his day. Some girl once told me that it was impossible for me to be Vietnamese BC Vietnam was a war and not a country. This happened while in college SMH. If you could adopt a child from a third world country, which country would you choose and why? I would choose Alaska, because it's really cold there. A member of the prom court being asked a random question on our school's live news show that was being broadcasted out to every homeroom. In my class asked why do farms exist till she gets her food from the teacher had such a disappointed face and everyone looked at her and wondered how did she pass all the way through the 8th grade. Wait, how could they castrate a 8-year-old? He wouldn't have his balls yet, my friend. A 18-year-old male who vastly misunderstood what people meant when they say your balls dropped. No. I don't know how he never noticed that he had balls before puberty. China is its own continent because the people who live there are called Chinese. We are Oklahomans. Did I miss the memo where we became a continent? I knew a girl who said what's the big deal about Obama being elected president? Our first black president was Martin Luther King. The moon is much better than the sun because it's up at night illuminating while the sun is up during the day, when it's already bright. A customer once argued with me that 19 and older what our sign said was different than 19 or older what I said, and that I should let them into the club. Technically yes, when you're talking about a group of people, you can nitpick and say that there is a subtle difference in that. This customer was 18. The subtle difference I was speaking of is in regards to a group. If the group is 19 and older, it includes those that are 19 and those that are older. Saying 19 or older would imply everyone is either only 19 or everyone is older. To an individual, there's no difference. Edit also, the correct phrasing should technically be includes ages 19 and over, or you him her they just be 19 or older. They're similar enough to be used interchangeably. When I was like 13, I told my friend that there was such a thing as a liger. They had successfully mated a lion and a tiger. His response, you idiot, tigers are female lions. We took the argument to his mother to settle it. She took his side. Friend shared that he thought women were like chickens. One day a month we would sit on a toilet all day and lay an egg. That chickens have no brains. Not that they are stupid. That a chicken literally does not have a brain. You're really gonna make me remember the time my coworker thought Willy Wonka was a real person and wondered how much money he was making on nerds and gobstoppers. Watching Star Wars in high school with some girl says, "When did this happen?" I said it was made in the 70s, confused on what she meant. She said no, the space war. When did we have a space war? Me and my buddy almost because some answers are mean. She was homeschooled and her parents were fucked Christian people. She would try and fit in. I felt sorry for her tbh. When I pointed out to a coworker that a person who actually was modest wouldn't brag about how modest they are, how would people know that I'm modest if I don't tell them? A customer came in today and apparently had an excuse for not wearing a mask. We offered curbside pickup for their safety and the safety of others. They let us know that they work at a COVID clinic, so they had literally zero chance of contracting it. My mom said her new Mac was a waste of money because it didn't have Internet Explorer, so how is she supposed to do anything? Thought we were talking about mysticism or something regarding the eclipse, but no, he followed up with, don't you know if the moon went into the sun it would melt, that's why the eclipse can't be real. I genuinely felt like humanity should probably start over from scratch after that. Someone tried to convince me that snakes don't have bones. I showed him some pictures of snake skeletons and he said yeah, they have ribs, not bones. Co-worker at my last job during the moon landings obviously didn't happen. Me, that's awkward. I was bouncing lasers off the mirrors we left there at uni. Physics graduate. Him, after pausing, there's loads of ways they could have got there. Aliens could have plunked them down. Man literally believes in aliens, but not the moon landings, and is a manager at a large company. It's been proven that if you dream about falling and hit the ground in your dream, you will die in your sleep. Yeah. If someone dies in their sleep, how do you know what they were dreaming? A few years ago I got a job offer in Japan and decided to take it. Some friends from my then office threw me a farewell party. The girlfriend of one of my co-workers came along and told me that she'd always wanted to go to Japan and that her number one thing to do there would be to take a camel ride. My co-worker and I just looked at her to see if she'd explain more. Maybe there was a camel cafe she'd heard about or something. But no, she just honestly thought camels were a common mode of transportation in Japan. In-law father is looking at the sky, pondering how NASA puts all that stuff up there without hitting the stars. He was a teenager during the space race. You'd figure it would have come up in school. We just shrugged and acted like we didn't know. 22-year-old girlfriend. After having walked under some street lamps, I just discovered that we have two shadows. I think the other one is only visible at night. I explained what shadows are and how they're dependent on the light source. There was visible brain processing strain on her face. I'd also like to mention that this person was fairly intelligent and scientifically inclined. She was majoring in biotechnology at the time and used to help me with my electives. My American friend on Xbox says the purge is real. I then had the most painful conversation with this kid about how it's fake. If Japanese people suffer so much from tsunamis, why don't they hide behind the Great Wall of China? .ATH grade geography class. A high school student asked if Obama was president of the person that asked that question was debatably one of the dumbest students in my school. Work at a hotel. Guest asked why there was no 4th of July parade or any fireworks in town. We were in Australia. I remarked that it's odd that we associate rabbits with EGGS for Easter. I jokingly said we should make it an Easter platypus because unlike rabbits they lay eggs. Then someone overheard this and said wait, no, rabbits do lay eggs. This turned into a 2-minute argument over whether or not rabbits lay eggs. And then when she finally accepted that she was wrong, she was so irritated that she asked all of her coworkers if they thought the same as her. To the best of my knowledge, she's the only one. That insects aren't animals. He insisted that the major groups of life are animals, plants, and insects. It was impossible to convince him that insects are in fact animals, and I think he still firmly believes it to this day. If you're an atheist, that means you're not allowed to use the Roman calendar because it was invented by Christians. Someone once said, "But I don't want to put the bag of aquatic snails inside the fish tank. They might drown." That someone was me. Past me is dumb. Washington, D.C. is a state because it's on a quarter. There are 52 states. Said by the same person. I've also watched this person fail the CPA exam like 25 times in a row. Really not sure why he keeps wasting money at this point, since clearly he doesn't have the intelligence to pass. That you can't walk to the front of a plane because it's moving faster than you can walk. This was a teacher. Mate of mine told me reindeer weren't real animals. They were mythical live in Australia. But still, fucking hell. Mitch, is the 4th of July on the 14th? Or ex-boyfriend asked me that. He has no excuse. He's from California. We were in class, and this girl was so confused at how a flight from America or Russia could be quick. Because the world map shows America being at the far left and Russia on the right. The teacher said, "Look at the map." She replies, "Yeah, they're so far away." A moment of silence. Teacher, the world is rounded, isn't flat like a map. At a sushi place in Dallas, a large middle-aged man at another table shouted, "Goddamn, those Japs don't fuck around with their guacamole." Oh, I have one. I told my friend that I thought she may be an alcoholic and she should get some help. So she goes to a counselor. She was so proud to come and tell me that she wasn't an alcoholic. She had a substantial abuse substance, alcohol. I worked retail as a summer job about 17 years ago. I was putting out coffee cups with a coworker. "Why don't they make left-handed coffee cups?" I quietly turned one of the mugs 180 degrees without saying. I heard she was the assistant manager of that department. Apparently, the last line hurt some feelings despite this being a whole thread about making fun of dumb things people say, so let me clarify. This young woman drank so much that she smelled like booze despite claiming she hadn't drunken anything in a couple days. She lived with her parents and let her parents watch her son while she'd go out and do bumps of coke. She would continuously show up late to work, with Starbucks in her hand, and immediately go right to the bathroom to apply her makeup for the next 30 minutes. I don't regret mentioning that she's the assistant manager at all. Take it as a commentary that she's possibly on a better path than where she was, or a commentary on the standards of this particular store, or just as a where are they now addition to the story. I don't really care how you take to it. Has come to my attention that since I edited my comment, that means I am triggered. Especially since the edit is twice as long as the original comment. I didn't know there were rules for this. Is even longer than the first edit to show just how triggered I apparently am, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm just procrastinating from doing my job while I'm supposed to be working. So to reiterate, it is completely unnecessary that I pointed out that my ex-coworker is now the assistant manager. I agree with this. However, I still don't really care that it was unnecessary since I do not find it necessary to even post the story in the first place. It's a funny thing about necessities, in that I don't consider anything on Reddit to be one. So in summary, some may think I'm an asshole for telling everybody she's the assistant manager. I would argue that I'm an asshole for far better reasons for that. That to milk and to milk made from milk. Proceed to try and prove his point by saying, if half-black friend and I half-black had a baby, the baby would be full black. This guy also asked me if the Queen was the President of Canada. So ... The spork is the devil's utensil because it is the amalgamation of the masculine fork and the feminine spoon, and is trying to blur gender lines in society. Late to the party here, but I'm a pharmacist and I've heard some classic example. Just this Monday, don't use COVID as an excuse. That excuse is so overused. COVID is finished, young lady, or a lady who I told her antibiotics should be taken every 12 hours. Oh, that's different to the last time I had these. Last time it was twice a day. Can't we just exterminate all bacteria and viruses so we can't get sick anymore? Literally heard someone say this in microbiology class. This requires some backstory. I went to a really prestigious New England private school on scholarship for high school, so most of my classmates were insanely wealthy. I was waiting for a class to start one day, and the guy sitting behind me was complaining to a friend that the milkman was late that morning so he didn't get to eat breakfast. I, like any normal person, turned around and asked him what he meant by milkman. Apparently the town he lived in, very wealthy, was serviced by a local dairy, so they got fresh milk delivered every day. Who gets your milk? And the worst part is that because my middle-class friends weren't in this class with me, I ended up looking like the weird one for getting my milk from the fucking grocery store. Edit: for those who were wondering, I did know that milkmen exist. I just assumed at the time that they were a thing of the past. I had no idea this was a fairly common thing in the area. I'd be jealous if I weren't extremely lactose intolerant. Masks don't work, that's why they told us not to wear them at first. They want us to wear them now because they realize the lack of oxygen will make us dumb, and will listen to wherever they say. I'm a veterinarian. I once had the owner of a pregnant 3-legged dog ask if the puppies would be born with 3 legs or 4. If white people are white and black people are black, does that mean Asians are gray? I still don't know the answer. 16. My cousin, who was 14, and I were in the car with my mom, and we stopped at a roadside fruit market, and my cousin went up to get a carton of cherries and asked how much is the $20 box of cherries. She's now studying political science on a scholarship at a prestigious uni, so I guess it was just a bad day. I was actually the dumb person, sadly. A friend's house and couldn't remember if I left a hair straightener or oven on at home, and I asked my friend, what if there's a fire? The door's locked so my cats won't be able to get out yet. I believed for at least 30 seconds that cats could open. Thanks for making me feel better, guys. Next time I leave I won't have to have 12 panic moments wondering about the doors, haha. I don't believe in evolution, cause if we did evolve then why aren't we still evolving? Edit: I should add, this was in a year 11, 15, 16-year-old elective science class. My 19-year-old American brother is America a country? Edit: this is just in case you're confused, but my brother was referring to the United States of America. He asked me if the US was a country. He wasn't talking about North and South America. Back in school, we had a firework ban because of a dumb bitch got mad and said it was stupid because the fireworks weren't going to spontaneously combust, so there's no point to the ban. Suddenly many people agreed with her. Same girl later told me, at my job documentary filmmaker for first responders didn't exist because she knew that it was illegal to film first responders because her dad was a fireman. She also said birds don't poop and have to be fed seltzer or they'll explode. My friend and I were arguing because she said evolution isn't real. I think people came from the ground. And I was in such disbelief. I was laughing but I just died inside. Another time, she said, artistic intelligence isn't real. And vaccines are scams. I wish she is not religious. British family on holiday in Washington, D.C. American lady overhears us talking and asks yo from France. Random girl at a party, you can't choose the father of your baby. I didn't bother assuring her that I could. I just had to walk away. A manager at one of my jobs asked me how do people in China know how old they are. I told her they cut off one of their legs and count the rings. I heard a Karen say once that the UV rays of the sun are a hoax so that people get scared and go to the hospital so that the hospitals can make millions. I then lost hope in people. This happened just a year ago. I will never come back to this business because you're revoking my rights as a citizen by forcing me to wear this muzzle, referring to a mask. For the context, English is not a common language in my country. I was angry at something and my siblings were trying to signal each other to distract me from situation. Another room in English instead of our native language so I won't find out what they were saying. My sis is doing PhD. This might not be seen stupid but it's because I am a major in English literature. New York is the capital of younger cousin was saying it. I got so mad with how ill-informed she was she ended up ringing my aunt to take her home. I was glad she went. Her what's the it's a federal organization that ensures the money you put in the bank. Her blank state oh. I thought it was that place that ships you mean FedEx. Back in year 9 we went on a school zoo trip. Went inside the panda exhibit and this girl's face was just completely dumbfounded. She told us that she thought pandas were made-up creatures like unicorns. Bloody brilliant. When discussing world population in my first year of college, a fellow student in the back after hearing that we were 6.8 billion people on Earth said no, it is simply not possible. How do you make 8 of a person? A housemate talking about a vegetarian friend that eats fish. When I remarked they're not truly a vegetarian but pescatarian, she asked why. Because fish are animals. She replied skeptically, they're not really though. Are they? A student at my university had, probably still has, the opinion that when you change your gender from male to female or vice versa, your chromosomes change too. Like from XX to XY, was the dumbest shit I ever heard and I laughed for about half an hour. I used to work at a drive-through coffee shop. Someone came through and asked what vegetarian options we had when it came to Toasties. The couple the guy who was ordering said, do you have the cheese and onion one at the moment? To which my colleague replied, yeah sure, do you want that one? The guy said yes and headed on through. Now obviously, we had headsets on to communicate with the people making orders and also to each colleague piped up over the headset and asked the whole team, are suitable for vegetarians. Can imagine I had questions, but needless to say if that ain't the dumbest thing I've ever heard, it's damn close.